Author's Corner. My name is Marisa Budon. I am your host, and I'm so excited to have with me. She is no stranger. She is actually one of our contributing writers for Own It Magazine and Publishing. And I'm so excited to have her here in the Author's Corner, special treat 101, and to talk with her and have a candid conversation about her book, Healing the Heart from Within. And so excited to dive in and go in and take the center stage and own it with me today is Ann Palmer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so
Uh,
excited to be able to have this one-on-one with you to really dive into your book, and really dive into your mind and allow the audience to dive in with me. And so say hello to everyone. Let them know what's on your mind right at this moment before we dive in.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I think you're going to find this topic really, really interesting because it's all about us. It's all about our heart, and it's all about self awareness and being in charge of our health and well being, which we are. Uh,
Oh, awesome. I want to dive in because your specialization is the heart. And so just wanting to dive in from what is the main point? Like, where's the main starting area? And in your book, you said the our heart has a brain, understanding the body connection. And I just want to set the stage, lay a foundation of that level of consciousness that you're saying. Is like, stop waiting until we get into, issues, because that's not where the heart started. The heart started, in a good, fabulous, amazing space. And then we don't pay attention until later on, when it becomes a negative. And so I want you to have the opportunity to lay the foundation of that setting of the consciousness as it pertains to the heart. So share about that chapter that you write.
sure, the heart does have a brain, and for years, there's been a lot of research about that because the heart has the same neuroreceptors. In fact, it has more neuroreceptors than the brain does. So we always think of the brain as being uh, in our head, our reaction to things. And really, the brain is a programmed response because the brain goes by how you reacted before to something. So if you see a piece of chocolate, your mouth may water, or you may get really excited, or you may feel hungry. And that's a reaction that every time you see chocolate, you're going to have because it's hard to tell your brain differently. It's like trying to tell your computer to do something differently when your computer is programmed to do certain things. So as research went on, and I'm going to say, well, about 20, probably more than 20 years ago, started researching the heart. And the heart has neuroreceptors which react to emotions, to feelings, and it's actually when emotions come into when we have an emotion or a feeling, it really comes into the heart first and then goes to the brain. And what a lot of times we do is we bypass the heart. Good emotions, you feel good, you're elated, you're happy. The brain says, wow, this is really good. The brain gives off the feel good hormones, and you're good. But what happens when feelings aren't that good? What happens if you lose a job, if you lose a pet, if you lose a spouse, you know, or you're upset about something? What happens then? When the message goes to the brain says, uh oh, we're under stress, we're under a threat, we have to go into survival mode. And when it does, that's a very old primitive response that right away sets the stress hormones going, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and cortisol. And we think that our body is in danger. The second thing that we do is we tend to bypass those feelings. And by that, I mean, I've worked in the medical profession for over 30 years. And unfortunately, what I've seen is right away people want a medication. They want to feel good. And
Mm,
especially in the United States, we've been conditioned to want to feel good. That nobody wants to feel bad, but sometimes you have to feel bad in order to get through that. It's like I had a mentor who's now deceased, and he had said to me one time, sometimes you just have to sit in that oven until you're fully baked. Because if you come
Yeah.
out of the oven and you're not fully baked, you're left with the same thing. You're not transformed into something better. You're still cake batter that's
Hmm.
unedible. Whereas if you sit in that oven and you take the heat and you sit with those feelings, when you come out, you're transformed into a cake. And I
That
just
is so.
think that, when I heard that, I said, you just have to we need to take those feelings into our heart and we need to sit with them. And a lot of times, what I tell patients is they'll come in and they'll say to me, such and such happened. Can I have an antidepressant? Well, there's criteria for an antidepressant. If you can't get out of bed in the morning, if you can't watch children or take care of a pet or take care of your spouse, or if you're so depressed that you don't feel like doing anything, or you feel like harming yourself, which is a whole different
Mm.
ballgame in itself. But then you need something to jumpstart getting to feel better and to start working on your emotions. But if it's the usual things like, okay, you lost your job, you lost something, you're unhappy, you had a fight with your spouse, your significant other, your friends, you have the right to feel bad. And at that point, you have to sit with those emotions in your heart. And that's what I mean by the heart having a brain. That the emotion comes in and says, Teresa Palmer's unhappy because she had a fight with her best friend, or things didn't go well in her job or whatever. Instead of bypassing it, you sit with it and you say to yourself, it's okay to feel bad. I'm allowed to feel bad. I'm allowed to cry. Nobody says I have to feel good 100% of the time. I'm a little bit depressed today, and that's okay. And then you work on it from there. So you sit and you acknowledge those emotions. And once you acknowledge and you take ownership of something is when you could do something about it. Okay, what happened at work? Well, why didn't it go well? Was it because there were too many patients? Was it because I didn't do something I should have done? Was it something that was out of control? My boss was in a bad mood. I can't control my boss's mood. So when we sit back and we use our heart as a brain and we really process, then we could say, oh, that incident that happened at work, my boss was in a bad mood. My boss may have misread something that went on. I can't change the way my boss feels. All I could do is go in tomorrow and do the very best I can and be aware of how my boss is feeling and what may trigger my boss, and then start to work on that. So we're taking charge. And now we're no longer upset, depressed, because we now have the ability to do something about it. And I always say, regardless of what our condition is, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, there's always something we can do to help ourselves. And that comes in again with the heart being our first brain. So, really, and if you want to count the gut, we have three brains that all kind of work in unison. But when we use our heart as a brain, we could process things, we could sit with them, and then we could give the signal to the heart, to the brain. The heart gives the signal that everything is okay to hold off, don't do the stress hormones, don't do anything like that. Let this person sit with how they're feeling, and it's okay not to have a reaction at that point. So I hope that's making sense to people.
Oh my God, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you hit so many areas and giving power back to yourself. I
Yes,
love how you said, stay in the oven until you're fully baked, because coming out you'll be half baked, right? If you don't get fully baked, you'll be half baked. And we want to go through the process because it's inevitable. this crisis is going to happen, and depending on the type of crisis or type of situation, it's repeatable, because we have all different relationships. You have a boss, your boss, you may have a reoccurrence of something that the boss didn't like, that he or she wasn't, it may be their leadership style that's causing you to come into. So you're always going to have these tribulations. You're always going to have these. But the key is to knowing thyself so you know how to navigate through it. So that even though it's a repeat, it's not new to you. So if it's not new to you, each time it's happening, you should improve in how you respond to it, and also the results that you get as a change of your behavior and your mindset. You talk about the importance of live from your heart, how resilience, gratitude, compassion, and forgiveness create a space for heartfelt healing. Could you share with the audience about that?
Sure. What I term live from your heart is living with gratitude, resilience, self forgiveness, and if need be, forgiveness to others. And what I say, gratitude, self forgiveness, resilience, uh, compassion, having compassion for yourself and compassion for others. So when we have emotions, there's emotions that everything in the body is energy and everything is a resonance or a vibration. So there's different emotions evoke a different type of energy in the body. So when we're living with gratitude, and in my book I tell people to find one thing each day that you're grateful for, that every day when you wake up to find something that you're grateful for. What you're doing is you're putting your body into a higher state of energy. And again, you're living from a higher mindset, a higher consciousness. You're also accessing the higher intelligence of your brain, which then makes you more receptive to things, more productive. It's living from that level. Now they call it, a lot of it is being called awakened, where people are rising to a higher consciousness. And what that simply means is that there's low level emotions and there's higher level emotions. Low level emotions like anger, hatred, distrust, any of those emotions put you at a lower consciousness and you become suspicious of things. Um, you have a personality where you're always weary of that something's going to happen and you start to live in anxiety and you start to live in fear. When you live with the emotions like gratitude, compassion, okay, something happened, forgive yourself for it. Be compassionate to yourself. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Forgiveness, things happen, okay, things even happen outside of us. If something happens to us, it's not that we forget what happened. It's that we don't allow that to prevent us from going on with our life. So that is different than forgetting it. It's acknowledging that it happened and it's saying to yourself, what happened wasn't right. It wasn't good, but now I have to move on from there. And resilience is going with the flow. And all these things put us in that higher state of consciousness, or what the word is now is awakening, where we could live our life at a higher level with inner peace, with inner calm. And when we could do that, we're able to be more ourselves, who we were meant to be. And that's really our spirit, is our authentic self or who we're meant to be. And then we could give that to the outside world. And little by little, when we all start to do that, because we're all interconnected to everybody and everything in the world, we start to see a gentler, more peaceful world. What's going on now is a lot of chaos because you have these two energies kind of fighting each other, and you've got the lower level of the hatred, the mistrust, and then you have the higher level of forgiveness, resilience, compassion, gratitude, and they have to meet. So right now, it's kind of that fighting that lower and that higher. But I really believe eventually the world is going to get to that higher consciousness, that higher way of thinking, and we're going to have a more peaceful world. So again, everything starts with us, and we can't control what's going on outside of us. We can control what's going on within us. And then when we can control what's going on within us, we show up in a higher state of consciousness to the world, which then, for lack of a better word, becomes contagious to other people because we are all interconnected. So again, I'm hoping these things make sense to people.
But also a pursuit of understanding, right? So we get knowledge and we get a glimpse of that. When it's new to us, it's just a glimpse of understanding. But when we keep in pursuit of it and hear again. So this is a tip, audience. You got to listen to the video over and over. You got to get the book, and you got to get the book, and you got to listen to the video over and over again. Because, and then also too, you got to subscribe to the Own It magazine. So if you're interested in subscribing to the Own It magazine, because she's in it every single month. And when I say to you, she's pouring out her heart. She's not only writing the articles, but she's also giving you a video to give you some tips and insight from the writer, from the author, so that you're not guessing what she's saying. You're verbal understanding of what her intent. And so you want to do it. So if you are interested in getting the subscription from Own It Magazine, you just go to Marisa at ownitmagazineandpublishing.com and give us your email, and we will add you to our subscriber list. So you can hear from her every single month. But you want to get her book, and you can go to her website, wellbeinggal.com. Is down here at the ticker tape. You see it going across. So grab it, write it. It's short enough for you to grab it and write it. And you can go to her. You connected with Teresa there as well. I want to shift gears. We're getting ready to close out, but I wanted to shift gears because you talked about mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and all that good stuff. Understanding the chakras. Am I saying that correctly? I wanted you to tap into and bring some enlightenment to our audience about what that really is all about. I'm always interested. I've seen it. I don't know much about it, but I want to hear like some insight and information share briefly with the audience in regards to that.
Sure. Chakras, there's a lot, again, research. We can't really say that what the chakras really are because they're subtle energies. So in the body, you have all this energy. You have your spinal column, you have your hormones, you have your organs. And what's been found, and this goes back to ancient times, really to Sanskrit and to even the development of yoga, that there's these subtle energies that run up the spine, and they start at the base of the spine, okay, at the very base of the spine, which is the root chakra, which is all about security, and it's all about feeling safe. And it has to do with the security, the safety, the survival. And it's right by our sits bones. So that is the first chakra. The second chakra has to do with creativity and birthing, and that has to do with our sex hormones. So the second chakra sits at the back of the spine, right in the area of our pelvis, and it's all about creating. And that means birthing. It also means birthing ideas, being creative with things. Sometimes when people have difficulty being creative, it's because that subtle energy, or what we call the wheel of energy, that chakra is blocked. The third chakra is the solar plexus, which is the abdomen, and it's right in our abdominal area. It's also where our adrenal glands are. So the third chakra has to do with our self-confidence. It has to do with, again, a little bit of security, but more with self-confidence, of more being who we are, being our authentic self instead of trying to be what everybody else wants us to be. It's that self-awareness, the self-development. It's also the adrenal glands for stress. So when we're not sure who we are, when somebody's telling us be a lawyer and we don't want to be a lawyer, that creates stress and friction. That's the adrenal glands. Our body becomes unbalanced. The fourth chakra is the heart chakra, and it's actually the bridge chakra because now you're going from survival to really more a higher consciousness. So the heart chakra is right in the heart area, and it has to do with love. It has to do with loving ourselves and others, with compassion, the resilience that we talked about, the forgiveness, and the gratitude. And the fifth chakra is our throat chakra, and that is where our thyroid gland actually is also. So the fifth chakra has to do with how do we express ourselves? You know, what are we expressing? Are we able to speak up and be ourselves? Can we say what's on our mind, or do we shy away from it? And sometimes when you see people that have a lot of throat problems or have thyroid problems, it's because they have problems with this communication. The sixth chakra is the third eye. And the third eye, reptiles used to have this third eye, which is really where light comes in. And it doesn't really have to do with vision, it has to do more with our intuition and our instincts. So the third eye is the sixth chakra, and that has to do with seeing beyond what you could see with your eyes. So it's really looking at the big picture, what I call the eagle's point of view, because the eagle flies high and the eagle sees the whole picture. The eagle just doesn't concentrate on what the eagle could see, smell, feel. It's more of that living with what can't be seen, but believing what things are possible. And then the sixth chakra is the crown of the head, and that has to do with our pituitary gland and our pituitary gland, which really is the major gland that regulates all the other glands and the hormones in the body. So all these seven chakras together, when they're all aligned and they're all in energy, keep our body in balance. There's things that you can do, and I do work with people to open up the chakras, and they are these little wheels of subtle energy. And by concentrating on them and doing certain things and meditating on them, you could actually open those blocked chakras. So sometimes the blockage in the first chakra is back problems, possibly leg problems, because it's all about being sturdy, surviving, being able to stand, so to speak, on your own 2 feet. The second chakra is our creativity, and sometimes when that's blocked, you also see infertility problems. The third chakra, the stomach, and the adrenal glands, and sometimes when the third chakra is blocked, you see people that may not have the self-confidence, and they have a lot of stomach issues. Fourth chakra is the heart. If the heart is blocked, it could mean that maybe even enough blood isn't going to the heart. So you could have things like heart disease, high blood pressure. I'm not saying these things always happen, but sometimes they do because there's an imbalance in the body. Fifth chakra has to do with communication. Sometimes people have difficulty with that. They get a lot of throat infections, or they could have thyroid problems. The sixth chakra has to do with the pineal gland, which again is a major regulating hormone system in the body. So sometimes if you're not open to everything and not seeing the big picture, sometimes you could have hormonal problems, and that could happen in any area of your body, and the same with the seventh chakra. So they are important because they do correspond to organs and glands in our body. Has science said that we really have these chakras? We know that they're subtle energies, but we can't really prove their existence. But it doesn't mean that they're not there. So sometimes science can only go so far, and sometimes we have to go a little bit beyond what science could actually prove. But you know, these hormones, these hormones, subtle energies, and organs certainly are proven. So it gives credence to the chakras.
Gives validity. Really appreciate you breaking that down. I think that people who don't know it, they see the symbol, they see the icon for it, and they get, especially spiritual people, they get a little spooked by that. They're like, okay, well, what is that? So that's why I asked you to explain it, so that everyone gets to hear the foundation of what it is, and the connection of what it is. I believe in that energy. My level of self awareness, I'm not going to say I'm at the highest place, but I have always been very, very conscious internally. I don't know where that came from. I believe I was born with it, because as a little kid, I was just like, um, and we do have a lot of energy that we can wield. Like, we can wield our energy when we're in a
Right.
room, build energy in such a way it lets everyone in the room know exactly what we are feeling and what the deal is. And I think that that's so important for us to begin to understand how powerful we really are and why it's so important, and it's highly responsible for us to know, because when we tap into this level of consciousness, we have to be responsible of self-regulating, right? And that we're not all, taking that we keep it in a good and ethical place, because we do become powerful. And it's very,
Oh,
very
yeah.
important for us to understand how
Yeah.
powerful we can be. And to some who are very powerful, you can hurt some folks. And so it's so important. That's why it's so important to have a heart of gratitude. It's all about the balancing. It's all about the
Yes.
balance.
Yeah.
Thing.
And
I want to give you a chance to say closing thoughts, but I really want to say how this interview has been, and having this dialogue with you, and how educated we became about what's in your book, and how can they see it. I know there's a little glare on a little halo, but see the book, get it. Like I said, you see it on the ticker tape. Go to her website. Go to Amazon. You know the author's name. You know the book, Heal Your Heart from Within. You know the book, and so get the book and read, so that you and read it over and over again. I know, and I say this a lot, but when I first got there, I heard God over and over and over. I didn't go to a sermon. I didn't wait to be in church service to read and study. When you're reading to study for revelation and true deep understanding, it's not a one-time read. You got to read it over and over again. And I always write in my books as well, because when I get understanding, I want to make sure it's right at that point where I read it. And so when I go back to read it again, I get deeper and deeper understanding. That's what you're talking about when you talk about that higher place of intelligence, that higher place of is you want deep understanding that goes beyond just the text, and it resonates with your spirit so much that, just like I said, you believe it, right? You believe it as so, because your intuition, you trust your intuition, you trust your instincts, and you connect with it. So very good. I know you have your closing thoughts, so I'm going to kaya de la boca. I'm going to shut my mouth so that you can talk.
oh, thank you so much. Like I said, I think the most important takeaway is that there's always something we can do to help ourselves, regardless of any condition, physical, emotional, spiritual, and that when we have the knowledge and we have the tools, it's that understanding, and then it's being able to apply them. And I'm not saying everything in the book is for everybody. I mean, some people may think about the chakras and say, wow, she's way out there. I want something that's more science based. Well, okay, meditation, a lot of scientific evidence. Yoga, a lot of scientific evidence. Breath work, a lot of scientific evidence. Gratitude, compassion, resilience, forgiveness, all scientific evidence. So the book is a combination kind of everything, and you pick and choose what you like out of it. You know, I have a neighbor that was diagnosed with a heart problem, and what he likes about the book is he likes the breath work, because when he gets really nervous, he gets a heart arrhythmia, and when he gets anxious. So when he does the breath work, it calms down his heart arrhythmia. He feels better. He likes the yoga. because again, it calms him down. He doesn't like some of the other things. You know, I couldn't convince him that there were chakras even if I had to, because that's not where he's at. But yet he could still read the book. He still likes it. He uses the book for what makes him feel good and what makes sense to him. And he's had very good outcomes with it. And the beauty of the book is, too, whatever you're doing outside, whether it be diet, exercise, medication, under the care of any provider for any condition, it doesn't matter because this is a complement. The book Heal Your Heart from Within is a complement to everything. And it's nothing that's invasive. It's nothing that even requires you to do anything that costs you money. All it is a way of turning inward, of looking at yourself, of being self aware, of having that not only awareness, but the knowledge and the tools, and then picking and choosing what resonates with you and how you want to use it. So it's only going to cost you what, $20 for the book, and then you have the book for life. You could use it over and over and over again. And if somebody chose to go further, they could also work privately with me if they wanted to do that. So, but the book I think is, I designed it for my patients in my cardiology practice in 2020 because people were having so many difficulties and because healthcare providers didn't have all the answers, and people were beginning to see that, and they needed the knowledge and the tools to help themselves.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So that's how it came about.
no, it's a well balanced book, and it covers so many different areas of dealing with the heart and getting connected and self awareness, consciousness. I think that that's what needs to happen. I think that know and spend time with ourselves. And like I said, you need an area to target. So if you don't know where those areas are, that's where the chakra comes in and it says to you, this is a point of focus. So when you are doing the yoga, when you are doing the mindfulness, and you don't even have to call it yoga. Like I was doing this before knowing anything about yoga, was connecting mentally and spiritually. Where is the pain or the discomfort, to the point where I actually, and I will leave with this, knowing myself, I was only 23 years old, knowing myself well enough to know when I was pregnant, at the point of, ready to give delivery. But my waters never broke. My waters and my two children, my two childbearing experiences, my water never broke. I never had that happen. And so with the second child, I felt my body. And I knew it wasn't the normal thing that leaves your body, right? So I was able to capture that. I actually captured a portion of it in a Tupperware container for the condiments. You know those small containers with the condiment. And I had an appointment. I knew I was going to the doctors. When my mom was picking me up, going to the. I had Braxton Hicks contractions, so I was very very dehydrated at times. Not drinking, I guess, enough fluid. I got to still be mindful of that today. But I had to go into the doctors to see. And I explained to the doctor what I experienced. And he was like, oh, okay, Marisa. And I said, well, I caught whatever this was because I know that it wasn't me, doing the number one thing, right? Whatever, trying to be discreet. And it was embryonic fluid. He immediately administered, he had me go right to the hospital. He said, Marisa, go to the hospital. Had I not had that level of connection, I'm telling you, I was 23 years old. Had I not had that level of connection, consciousness, and awareness that this is not right, something's not right here, and take action, how would I have known? And I was far away from the hospital. Where I lived in Piscataway. My hospital was in Livingston. And I'm trying to remember the name of the hospital. It closed. St. Barnabas. It was in Livingston. And so that's a pretty drive, Piscataway to Livingston. for me to go if I get into a situation. So to have that level of experience, just like you said, you have control. And I had to be able to say to my doctor, hey, this is what is going on, and speak up on my behalf. So, and even at that young age. And so I just say that to say that this is so important for us to get connected. And your work here is very important for us to learn how to do that intentionally and with knowledge, not just being able to, oh, okay, I did do this right. You can say I am doing this right, and you have the right to pick and choose whatever it is. That's why I said is whatever your belief system is, but get the knowledge. Knowledge is power, and knowledge applied is powerful. And so I just want to say thank you. We went a little longer than expected, but we needed to do that. And this is great. So again, this is your the author is Teresa Ann Palmer. And thank you so very much, Teresa, for taking the time out of your day to spend with us and give us deep insight. And like she said, she is available for you to work with one on one. So if you get the book and you still need deeper understanding, she's available. She's making herself available. Her website is right here, wellbeinggal@com, and just reach out to her, connect with her directly. This has been wonderful. Thank you so very much. Until
Oh,
next
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good health to everyone.